Sakura is a tough kid with a quick temper. He isn't much for talking things out. He'd rather settle things with his fists. Decent at fighting, he joins Furin High, a school full of rough kids with one goal: to become the strongest. But does he have what it takes? Of course, he's a main character with plot armor. As Sakura walks through town, memories of people looking down on him because of his different colored hair and eyes taunt him. It's a dream, but it feels too real. He wakes up frustrated, determined to make a name for himself. In the middle of town, he notices some bullies harassing a girl. Without a second thought, Sakura steps in and easily takes down the gang, introducing himself with a cocky grin. The girl, surprised but grateful, invites him to her family's shop as a thank you. At the shop, she introduces herself as Kotoa Tachibana. She's kind and doesn't judge him for his looks. Sakura, who's used to people being disgusted by him, is taken aback by her kindness. She serves him a meal, which he devours, loving her cooking. They chat, and he mentions his dream of becoming the top fighter at Furin High. Tachibana warns him that if he wants to succeed there, he needs allies, not just fists. But Sakura insists he'll make it on his own. Later, Sakura runs into those same bullies again, now even angrier and with backup. They try to ambush him, but Sakura fights back, determined to show he's stronger than anyone who doubts him. As the fight gets intense, a group of Furin High students arrives to help him. Surprised, Sakura wonders why they're supporting him, but soon learns that the students see themselves as the town's defenders. The townspeople thank the students and even offer Sakura food for his help. He's not used to kindness, but it starts to make him think. Tachibana explains that Furin High students have a reputation for protecting their community, not just fighting for themselves. Back at school, Sakura meets more of his classmates, including a quirky kid named Nair and a guy with an eye patch, Suo, who tells him about the 4 kings who lead the school. Suo and Kotaro, one of the top fighters, challenge Sakura, but he stands his ground, impressing his new classmates. As he settles in, Sakura realizes that Furin High is more than just a place for fighting. It's a school where students protect each other and their town, creating a strange but strong bond. Slowly, he starts to understand that being strong isn't just about fighting alone. He begins to appreciate the people around him and maybe, just maybe, starts to find his place among them. Sakura is excited as he sees the power of their group's reputation in town. Suddenly, they notice a student from Furin High running frantically from a group of Shishi Toran gang members. Hiragi calls for the student to run to his side, but it's clear the kid won't make it in time. Just as Hiragi begins to worry, the student trips and falls. Before the gang members can pounce, one of them gets knocked out by Kotaro and Sakura, who stand protectively over the fallen student. While they're taking stock of the situation, a high-ranking member of Shishi Toran, Joe Togami, steps forward. He's clearly angry one of his guys was taken down by a Furin student. Joe grabs a bottle, taunts his crew member for being weak, and smashes the bottle on him, declaring that he doesn't tolerate weakness. Then he strips the gang jacket from the unlucky guy, reinforcing his point. Sakura, unimpressed, mocks Joe, catching the gang leader's attention. Instead of attacking, Joe finds Sakura intriguing and says they'll settle things properly later. Hiragi apologizes to the middle schooler who was targeted and brings him along to report the situation to Umia, the top student at Furin. On their way, Hiragi seems tense, and Sakura wonders if it's because of Umia. They find Umia on the rooftop, tending to plants with a smile. When Hiragi tries to explain the gang conflict, Umia instead talks about his plants, much to Hiragi's frustration. Sakura finds it odd that Umia seems so calm, but guesses there's more to him than meets the eye. The middle schooler Sasaki nervously explains to Umia how he ended up in Shishi Toran territory by accident while chasing a shoplifter. Sakura and Kotaro saved him when he was cornered. Umia listens, thanks Sasaki for defending their town, and pats him on the head, calling him little brother. Sakura is surprised by this gesture and asks why Umia refers to him that way. Umia explains that he sees everyone in town as his family. Just then, Hiragi gets a call. The leader of Shishi Toran, Choji Tomiyama, has arrived outside their school demanding a fight. Excited, Sakura follows as Umia heads downstairs to face Choji, but Umia tells Sakura to stay back. The usually gentle Umia now has a steely resolve, surprising everyone. Choji taunts Umia, insisting that his gang had the right to retaliate. Umia counters, pointing out that Shishi Toran has hurt enough foreign students. Choji launches a powerful kick, but Umia catches his foot with ease. Choji, bored by his usual responsibilities, claims he's here for a real challenge and even talks about taking over Furin. This ignites a tense moment, and as more Shishi Toran members show up, a brawl seems inevitable. However, Choji proposes a one-on-one tournament-style showdown, with each school selecting fighters. Later that night, as they gather at Tana's cafe for dinner, Umia meets with his friends and Furin students, reminding them that the next day's fights are serious. When the big day arrives, Furin and Shishi Toran face off in an abandoned theater packed with gang members. The first fight pits Kotaro against Arima, a fierce Shishi Toran fighter. Arima gets in a hit, but Kotaro retaliates with a single brutal punch that knocks Arima out cold. The Shishi Toran members drag Arima off the stage like trash, angering Sakura, who warns them to stop disrespecting their opponents. Next, Suo steps into the ring. Though usually kind, he shows a fierce side as he dodges his opponent's attacks with ease, taunting him. Finally, he delivers a lesson in humility, leaving the opponent embarrassed. Sakura is surprised by Suo's aggressive style, realizing that something personal may be fueling his intensity. The fights continue with Hiragi stepping up next against an old friend turned rival Sako. The two exchange heated blows, but Hiragi gains the upper hand. During the fight, Sako reflects on how Hiragi once inspired him, though Hiragi had hoped Sako would find his own path. Finally, Hiragi apologizes to Sako for not meeting his expectations, dealing him a powerful final blow that brings Sako to tears. As Sako is carried off the stage, the Shishi Toran gang and foreign students alike are left in awe of Hiragi's skill. The tournament is far from over, but one thing is clear. Furin High's fighters are here to prove their strength and defend their school, no matter what it takes. Umia commends him on his roundhouse kick, and Hiragi asks if he's curious about Sako. Umia simply replies that when Hiragi is ready to talk, he'll listen. Meanwhile, Joe recalls a rainy memory, but Choi snaps him out of it, reminding him it's time for his match. Joe calls Othel to join him, and the crowd erupts. Sakura steps up, and his crew wishes him luck, with some jokingly hoping he survives. Sakura remembers Umiya's advice and wonders how long the fight will last. When Joe gets on stage, Sakura wants to get it over with, while Joe plans to take his time and enjoy the battle. As the fight begins, Sakura throws a punch, but Joe grabs him, throwing him to the floor. Thanks to his reflexes, Sakura manages to kick Joe off, and they reset. Hiragi notes that while Sakura is strong, Joe is even stronger. Sakura taunts Joe for moving quickly, considering he said he'd go slow. Joe decides to keep his pace steady, making it a challenge for Sakura, who's barely dodging Joe's attacks. Umia explains that Sakura feels pressured because Joe is much stronger than earlier fighters. Joe tries to grab Sakura, who narrowly dodges and lands a roundhouse kick to Joe's head. Joe retaliates, slamming Sakura to the stage and nearly stomping him, irritated by what Sakura said to him earlier. The crowd watches as Joe relentlessly tries to stomp Sakura, who dodges desperately. Joe eventually catches him, pummeling him to the ground while giving him a hard lesson about not speaking too soon. Joe compares Sakura to a delicate wind chime, fragile and easily broken. Just as Joe continues to lecture, Sakura throws a punch which Joe dodges, scolding him for interrupting. Sakura grabs Joe's arm and spins out, managing to land a clean kick that surprises Joe. The crowd cheers for Sakura, and he vows not to lose, even if it means risking everything. Joe, unfazed, counters with powerful moves, and the two exchange intense blows. The fight rages on, both fighters showing their strengths. Sakura, realizing Joe's past mistakes, tries to understand Joe's motivations, asking what he's truly fighting for. Joe admits he wants to rediscover himself. Sakura, inspired, charges back with renewed determination, declaring he won't back down no matter what. In the final moments of the fight, Both fighters land powerful strikes, pushing each other to the limit. Finally, Joe decides to hold back, allowing Sakura to win, shocking the crowd, as they never expected Joe to concede. Sakura, however, feels unsatisfied, knowing Joe held back. Just then, Choji appears, congratulating Sakura and challenging him to a fight next. As Joe watches Choji, he reflects on their past, remembering how Choji led Shishi Toran with strength, but took a violent path. Joe once believed in Choji's ideals, but now questions whether he followed the right path. In the end, Umia joins them and helps Joe find peace, suggesting that perhaps being a leader isn't about strength, but bringing people together. Joe accepts this, and the crew sits together for a meal, finding joy in the simple act of sharing food and stories. Joe, Choji, and the others laugh and reflect, each taking a small step toward understanding what true strength and freedom mean. As Sakura sees Joe, he tenses up, finding it hard to wave goodbye. Choji, watching the Furin kids leave, wonders how he can make things right. He knows a simple sorry won't be enough. Joe takes some bread from Choji, cuts it in two, and they both take a bite. The bread tastes sweet, so sweet that tears start streaming down their faces. Of course, they joke that it's just because of the weather. Outside, Sasaki eagerly waits for the group. When he spots them, he runs over like a puppy and bursts into tears, apologizing for causing trouble. Umia pats him on the head, comforting him. As they step into Tachibana's shop, she notices how beat up most of them are, especially Sakura. She gives him a warm smile and says, "Welcome back." Sakura realizes what she meant when she once told him he couldn't reach the top alone. He sees why Umia, who leads with kindness, deserves that role. Sakura, feeling annoyed, tries to slip away, but Umia grabs him playfully, insisting they all celebrate together. While Sakura looks for an excuse to leave, Umia keeps finding reasons to stay and enjoy. As they share coffee, Umia asks Sakura how things went with Joe. Confused, Sakura blurts out that he didn't hear any deep conversations from his fists. Umia laughs, explaining that communication through fists isn't about talking. It's a primitive language to show what's in your heart. He then asks Sakura if he likes Joe. Embarrassed, Sakura sprays coffee on Umia. After cleaning up, Umia explains that Sakura's anger at Choji for attacking Joe shows he actually cares about Joe. Sakura admits it, though he doesn't think it's a big deal. Umia smiles and tells Sakura that he's happy he's in their town, saying it's worth celebrating because he believes Sakura's a good guy. Sakura, surprised, wonders why the people of Furan are so quick to accept him when he came here determined to be on top, even if it meant standing alone. Sakura starts to think about how his past struggles led him to crave strength to accept himself, and wonders why he finds it so hard to accept others. Suddenly, Nair snaps him back to reality, reminding him that Sakura accepted him too, flaws and all. Umia encourages Sakura, saying that if he can open his heart, he can reach the top without sacrificing his bonds. Sakura scoffs, yelling that if he does reach the top, it would mean Umia has failed. Umia just laughs it off. Later, as Sakura walks to school, he remembers Umiya's advice. Suddenly, Suo and Nair sneak up on him, making him jump. As they walk, they notice people staring, and when they get to class, everyone bombards them with questions about their fight with Shishitori. Before he can explain, a muscular classmate interrupts and challenges Suo, but Suo shrugs it off, staying calm. Turning his attention to Sakura, the guy asks what his virtue is, confusing everyone. After school, Nair drags Suo and Sakura to Sugura's family restaurant. As they eat, Sugura starts talking about his ideals, and eventually, he challenges Sakura to a sparring match. Sakura remembers Umiya's words about using fists to communicate, so he agrees, eager to prove himself. Just then, Kiru, a rich kid with a strong reputation, enters with a girl. Sakura can't help but feel envious. When Sugura invites Kiru to join, Kiru says he'll talk with Sakura later, piquing Sakura's interest. Out of nowhere, a group of thugs shows up looking for trouble. The group realizes Kiru saved the girl from these punks earlier, and Sakura, already fired up, steps forward to fight. The team defends each other, with Sakura's fierce energy leading the charge. They work together, protecting the shop and sending the thugs packing. Sakura, impressed by Kiru's strength, feels a strange mix of rivalry and respect. The next day at school, the class is picking a captain. To Sakura's surprise, Suo and the others nominate him. Embarrassed but touched, Sakura feels the weight of their support. He thinks back to Umiya's words and realizes that maybe he doesn't have to be perfect to be a leader. Just as he's about to accept, a senior class rep interrupts, saying Sakura doesn't need to be flawless to lead. His classmates' support is enough. When the new captains are called for town patrols, Sakura tags along with Kaji, a senior with a strict reputation. Along the way, they meet an elderly lady who's lost her pet cat, Lisa. While the others panic about finding a missing child, Kaji calmly assures the woman he'll find her pet. Sakura, though, feels frustrated, thinking Kaji doesn't care enough. As they search, the kids chase the cat through rooftops and alleyways. Sakura surprises everyone with his speed and determination to catch Lisa. Eventually, they rescue her, earning thanks from the old lady who praises Kaji for saving her pet. Through all of this, Sakura realizes that leadership doesn't mean acting tough alone. Watching how Kaji and Umiya lead in their own ways, Sakura starts to understand that real strength means working with others, not just going solo. When Sakura finds Kaji, he asks him why he became the class rep. Kaji looks at him seriously and says he didn't have a real reason. He didn't choose the role. His friends chose it for him. They wanted him to be their leader, so he accepted. Sakura starts thinking about his own situation. He wonders if it's okay not to have a personal goal as long as you're helping others. Just then, his friend Nair interrupts his thoughts with a snack from the old lady's son and praises Sakura for going after a stray cat earlier. Blushing a bit, Sakura asks if his classmates really see him as reliable. Nair and the others smile and reassure him. The next day at Tachibana's cafe, Sakura collapses from exhaustion. Tachibana and the cafe's elderly owner are concerned, seeing the heavy bags under his eyes. Tachibana asks if something's wrong, and Sakura tries to brush it off, saying he's just tired. But when she asks if he's been chosen as grade rep, he accidentally spills his coffee in surprise. She gives him a napkin and, noticing his reaction, guesses that he's the rep. She congratulates him and encourages him, even if he doesn't feel fully ready. Feeling encouraged but still unsure, Sakura decides to get to know his classmates better. Back at school, he asks Nair to help him learn everyone's names, but it doesn't stick. Still, Nair and Suo start to notice that Sakura is taking his rep duties seriously, and they appreciate his effort. Later, Umia, the school's top rep, calls all the class reps to the rooftop. He introduces the four kings, respected seniors who lead the different student teams. Umia asks the junior reps to care for their classmates since he can't be everywhere. Sakura, caught off guard, is inspired by Umiya's serious side and feels a new sense of responsibility. After the meeting, Sakura heads back to class with his friends. Nair fills everyone in on what happened, including the part about the four kings. Meanwhile, Sakura spots his classmate Anzai, who looks injured. He follows Anzai outside, where he admits he got into trouble with a group called Keel after trying to save an old friend. Sakura realizes how much Anzai is struggling and decides to help him. The next day, Sakura catches Anzai looking at a mysterious photo of his friend, Nagato, who's been caught up with Keel. Determined to help, Sakura confronts Anzai about the truth. He admits he's been trying to save Nagato, who's somehow gotten involved with this dangerous group. Sakura offers to help, saying he made a promise to Anzai's friend that he intends to keep. When the rest of their classmates find out, they offer to back Sakura up, reminding Anzai that he doesn't have to face this alone. They march out of school together to confront Keel, ready to stand together. If you enjoyed this recap, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Have a great day.